Hello, everyday leaders. We are coming to you from the Indianapolis studio tonight. I'm Melahni Ake, and I am bringing you amazing people this week, especially through COVID. I want to celebrate people that are stepping into their lives and living their lives with purpose. And so, I've been on this whole campaign about the Why Institute, finding your why, finding your purpose. And I have someone tonight that I want to celebrate. I want you to connect to because this man is really about living your purpose. Dennis Mellen is joining us tonight, and I won't steal his thunder because I really want him to be able to fully introduce himself. I had him take the why, and we're going to talk about that in this segment. But what I'd like for you to do is take out your journals and your pencils or your pens and start writing notes because there's going to be a lot of great gold bombs. Dennis is also certified with the John Gordon Power of Positive Leadership. And this is amazing because you guys know Chip Baker, he's part of that group too. So it all is of the circle that you surround yourself with. And so, Dennis, I am so excited that you're on tonight. And I want to really just thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing and coming on and sharing your journey with us.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure to be here. It's tough to be vulnerable on live streaming, isn't it?
It is. And you've been busy today. You said you have been on 5 shows already?
No, it wasn't 5 shows, but I've been on 5 Zoom calls. So
So you're
just
kind of
catching up
zoomed
with
out, right?
everybody. No, not yet. This was the one I was looking forward to.
This is so great. Dennis, you have such a history. I have been a trainer for some big medical companies, and I have been in sales for a very long time in leadership roles. But your journey started off with the airlines. So take us back. I know Alaskan Airlines, if people don't know you, talk to us about how you ended up with Alaskan Airlines and all the things that you did there to influence and impact others.
My life has been kind of inverted. Most people go through high school, and in high school they go through the feelings of, what do I do now? Do I go to college? What college do I pick? What trade school? What business do I go into? But I had a signalness of purpose since about 10 years old. I was at my father's Air Force base, and just looking up at the sky, going, "Hey, look at those airplanes up here. That's pretty cool. That's what I want to do when I grow up." Of course, my wife says I've never reached that point yet, but from that point to when I lost my medical at age 56, everything was about flying, and I loved doing that. I went to the Air Force Academy. I flew on active duty in the Air Force for about 7 years, and then I switched over to the Air Force Reserves, and about the same time got hired by a startup airline called Jet America. Went through all the merger stuff, and we were out of Long Beach, California, and Alaska bought us, and I became part of Alaska in about 1986 or so. And from that point on, it was just flying, teaching, instructing until I moved into the management training side. I became the fleet captain for the MD-80s that were up there, and then I lost my medical one day, and it was one of those things of you're never going to get to fly again, and that just practically crushed me. So it was, what do I do now? The same thing that a high schooler faces at age 17, 18. Here I am at 56 years old. Time for a career change.
Mm. So what about, so a lot of people that say, gosh, what a great life, right? To know what you were going to do that young and
Yeah,
saying, I knew what my purpose was.
yeah.
And you took the why. And what was your why, Dennis?
Well, it's changed. I mean, that was such an enjoyable job. It was what's the proverbial saying? If you love your job, you'd never work a day of your life. And my friends kid me. I probably haven't worked a day of my life anyway. But from there, losing that, trying to figure out a new purpose. Uh, my I lost my medical in 2008, and it took till about 2013 to figure out what I was going to do when I grow up. I did all kinds of things in the interim, from volunteering to working as a safety consultant, going to Africa and Philippines and all over the place. But it was that was kind of telling on the family, so I had to. I said, well, I better grow up and do something for real. So then I got interested in baseball coaching, and I went through a period of time where I was working in the off season doing various things, and it finally led me to speaking and writing a book, because I don't tell anybody, but I was keeping a journal. Now, girls call that diaries, but real men can't call them diaries, right? They have to call them journals. So
That's
I
how the
kept a
word
journal.
journal came up, right? That's how it came up.
Yeah.
You're giving
So
your secrets
yeah, so
away.
I just kept that helped me with the writing a lot.
Mhm. So when you started journaling, how old were you?
Um, well, I was probably about 56, 57. Right in that range, and I just started writing down just different things that happened, and I had no purpose in doing it. I just wrote them down. It was almost cathartic to write down some things. And
Well,
then when I went to write the book, I was going, how do I fill in all the detail? And then all of a sudden, I looked at the journal again, and things were just like almost plug and play. You know,
mhm.
so it was good that I'd done it, therapeutic when I'd done it, and it was helpful in the book writing process. So
Gosh,
I
I
still keep one.
I love that you said that, because you said, you don't really write with any, I forget how you just put that, but it was so perfect, because a lot of people say, well, what would I write about? Like if I
Right,
go buy a journal, a blank piece of paper, a blank book, and I'm not motivated, I'm not inspired to write about something specific, a subject.
right,
And that's not the point, right? Journaling is just about getting your thoughts out in
yeah,
no real order. It's just about writing, giving
yeah,
yourself the freedom, right?
yeah. It really is, and it's a you know I guess if you're going to look at men and women, men don't really express their emotions very well. Is the general theme, and writing seemed to be where I could express some of that without having to be overly maudlin about anything.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I just it really helped me out through the period of time. But it was so helpful in the writing process when I started. It was I'd already written a lot of things, so
Well,
it
it's
was
so
good.
well, you don't ever think that there's a thread, right? But when it comes
No,
from your heart, and that's really the purpose, everyday leaders, we talk about that's where it starts, with your heart. And if you're going to connect to anything in your purpose in life, you have to start with what you feel. And so, what you've been motivated to do to add value to the world and to people is just that authentic connection. And so, as you've really found out, like, hey, I really loved what I was doing, I had to change, but I could still follow what my heart desired. And so as you started journaling, I love this, because I want to share a couple of things with our guests here that are watching and listening. Oh, here's Jonathan Howard. Hi, Jonathan Howard from the Social Life. He says, it is such a cathartic process. Writing is such a process, and it's so important. Um, so, Dennis, really, when I asked you to take your why, it came out that you were contribute. And so, just knowing you, talking to you for a few minutes, the first time that we met, I said, I am not surprised, because contribute, the whole definition is contribute to a greater cause, make a difference, and have an impact to add value to the world. And so that's all you've done your whole life. And as you had to like transfer your energy and say, okay, how do I do this now if I can't physically, do the how and the what? If I can't show up in the same space, how do I still use my gifts of passion? And
yeah,
s- and so
yeah.
writing in that journal was really the process for you, wasn't it?
Well, it really was, and it started. I feel like I was meant to be where I am right now. We're all meant to be where we are right now. And it's like, look at the journey as one day at a time and enjoy this moment right here. Yeah, I went through a pretty bad time when I lost the medical and couldn't fly anymore. It was crushing. I'm not my wife was very concerned about my mental state, But I had a neighbor who had gone through something similar, and we sat down and talked, and he was almost like what's the comedian Bill Burr,
Yeah.
where he has the jokes where he says, what are you going to do? And that's exactly what that guy was saying. Hey, what are you going to do? You can relegate yourself to Geezerville, the Barker Lounger, a remote and a cool drink, and Oprah reruns or something. But if you really want to live, you have to have a purpose. You have to have that why. And I think it took a while to find it. It took a while for it to be revealed to me, really. And there's just having the friends and the support system where they're constantly remind you, hey, what are you going to do? I mean, there's plenty of older people that can still contribute a lot and live, if nothing else, good stories of things that they've experienced.
Well, I want to read this because I want you to really think about this as I read the characteristics of your why of contribute. Because it's basically you're saying, what can I do to help? And this really sums it up. It says, you love to support others and relish the success of the greater good or victory of the team. You're often behind the scenes looking for ways to make the world better. You are the go to people, the ones that people look to when they need help with just about anything. You're reliable and a committed teammate, and you often act as the glue that holds everyone else together. You use your time, money, energy, and resources and connections to add value to other people and organizations. And so knowing that you do that and then that you have walked through this purpose of journaling and writing this book, I really want to get to the book because this is something about our heart, right? I said it starts with the heart to begin with, but your book is called da, da, da,
It
da,
takes more than heart.
Takes More Than Heart. And so I want to put this on here because I want you guys to really pay attention to this. This is going to be an amazing gift to yourself to get this book. I'm going to share the screen as you can kind of walk us through, Dennis, the details about what this book is going to do to change people's life.
Well, I think telling the initial story part is an important part of this. You feel like one day I'm up flying at 35,000 feet, looking down at people on the ground, going, "Hey, look at those guys down there. I wonder what they're thinking," and kind of chuckling to myself, and then realizing they're probably down on the ground, looking up, going, "Hey, I wonder what those guys are doing up there." And it's an accumulation of over 30 years of flying experience. Almost any job, you get to a point where it's easy or it seems easy, but I didn't really know how quickly that was going to change, because the next day, trying to stay physically fit, airline pilots get a physical every 6 months with an EKG and all this other rigmarole, but they didn't find anything. And here I am taking off, going to take advantage of what in Seattle they call a bluebird day, where the sky's so blue it just hurts your eyes. I'm going to go out on a mountain bike trail for about the third time in the week. And I get up on an isolated trail, and all of a sudden I'm not feeling so good. Next thing I know, it's 3 days later with this bright light in my eyes. And I'm thinking, did I do something wrong, or am I being interrogated by the cops or something? And no, my eyes come into focus, and here's my brother with tears in his eyes, going, and I just locked eyes with him and said, the typical brotherly thing. I said, "Hey, butthead," and he goes, "Dennis, you had us so scared." And he tells me the story of what's happened over the last 3 days that I lost, and they found me on the trail. Two hikers, luckily, they called 911. It took a little while for the EMTs to get up there. And then as they get me all stabilized on a gurney, they have to stop about 25 times between the hill and the hospital, about a half hour away, and shock me back into synchronous heartbeats, and another 20 times in the ER. And I'm just lucky I'm here. So the fact that I went through this and life changing so quickly, it's almost You feel like, where does the pivot come? What's my new purpose? What's my new why? You know, people are going through it right now with the pandemic. I watched my brother-in-law is a professional musician. Well, we ain't getting together for gigs and music at bars or anything right now. So he's instead of going rolling his shoulders, going, what are you going to do? He started teaching violin lessons online, and when I was talking to him, he's teaching somebody over in Sweden, 4 or 5 kids over in Sweden on Zoom. And so I don't know if I actually got into the answer to the question that you asked, but maybe I got a little sidetracked. But I get excited about telling the story because it's still really hard to tell.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you feel like you've watched a dream, and that it
Yeah,
actually happened to you, and you step back and say, what do I need to do to change so that I can live my life? Because when you're full of purpose, you say, I'm not done yet. I've got to
yeah,
keep going, right? And your story is so encouraging because here you're in, midlife, mid 50s, and say, I really have more to do, and I really see it. And so here when you join the John Gordon positive power of leadership, group, and then said, I think I have this book in me, and I'm just going to keep, like you just kept seeing
yeah.
clearer and clearer how you can show up and add value to people. And that's what I love about your story.
Are you sure that you're not a therapist?
you know?
This sounds like therapy right here.
But it's so great. So many people need to hear this, Dennis, because there are a lot of people searching for answers. And I talk to people every single day as a coach, and they say, well, I'm not really sure that I see this. I don't really know that I want what I had anymore before COVID. Or I'm in the middle still of trying to decide what kind of a job I want to transfer into. I
Yeah,
lost my job, or I want to start something different. So I know what I don't want anymore. And I love that people are really deciding, like, I don't want this because I have to give up and I have to trade off things that I've discovered that are really important to me now.
right.
And so that's what I love about what's happened to the whole world. Here we've had all this snow, and we don't live in Texas. We're up in the Midwest, so we're used to snow.
Yeah,
But all of our friends all over the country that, their cities haven't been prepared for
right.
the snow,
Yeah,
and now it hits the power lines, and now they're,
yeah,
scrambling to just survive after they've been through the pandemic.
yeah.
And so, what a tough time that we're all going through. And I love stories like yours because it's like, look, it doesn't matter what age you are, what transition you're going through. You can start something completely new just because you have a vision for it and you have a heart for it.
Well, I think it goes to what popped into my head is I think it might be a Japanese samurai saying, the fall down 7 times, get up 8.
Yeah.
Just keep moving, you got a purpose. Otherwise, it's like I was saying earlier, you relegate yourself to Geezerville, and that's coming. There'll be eventually a time when we just can't move around much or whatever, but you can still give something even then, you know.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. And I want people to know what you do as well. So you have a training company, and I'd like to bring that up. If you can tell us a little bit about, what you do, how you connect to other clients, and how we can, how people can look you up to use your services.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That I have my company's called beabean.net. I'm the sole purpose person in the company, but I do power of positive leadership, and I have some other training, leadership training that I do. There's by the 5 hours from me, and we'll spend time developing some of the skills that you might need after we do an assessment, kind of like what you do with the why.
Mhm.
Um, it's the tagline really is as a leader, you're like a coffee bean. You've got this experience. You've gone through that roasting and grinding and brewing and pouring routine. And really, what you're trying to do as a little coffee bean is turn your team or the people around you into gourmet coffee that you positively make a change around there. And that's what the leadership is all about. It's figuring out how to know where you are, know where you're going. And I guess it's kind of like if you and I were driving from Chicago down to Disney World. We can go a couple different ways, but showing you the way to go. You can either go through Memphis, Louisville, or Knoxville. There's some that are quicker, some are more scenic. We're going to see, roadblocks, traffic hazards, rain, snow. But just like your headlights only cover 200 feet at a time, that's what you have to do on the way to Disney World. Take care of this 200 feet. Once you've done that, take care of the next 200 feet. So mapping out that strategy is part of, being a positive leader and being that bean that changes ordinary water into gourmet coffee. Knowing your why. What's your purpose? We're going to Disney World. Yeah. Take whatever goal or meaning that you want and go take care of it 200 feet at a time.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the stories, and I'm going to forget all of this, all the details, because my why is challenge. So, but I think about, the hot water. It's the three things that you put in the hot water, right? You put the egg in hot water, and you
Oh
put
yeah.
the bean and the coffee bean in hot water, and so what does the water do, right? That boiling
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
it changes, it transforms each of those into a different property. And so I think the value of that, like, if you're an egg and you boil it, it turns hard, right? Soft
Right.
in the middle. And then the coffee bean, it really transforms, right? It
Yeah.
transforms into something that we enjoy. And so, and liquid. But it's true about our lives, right? And we have to figure out what that boiling point is and how it's going to change us
Right.
so that we can influence and impact the world. And so many times that we feel like we're up against something that we can't deal with, right? It's just too much. And so we have to figure out, like, it's about adding value. And so we have to step back and kind of say, are we doing the right things that are giving us energy? Or do we need to change everything that we're doing and look at the world differently?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the whole routine of you're the sum total of the 5 people you hang around the most, not your friends and family, or your friends maybe, but thank goodness I always had friends that were way more capable of me. In fact, if we look at the 7 billion people in the world, there's probably not many I could eliminate that are under me. So you surround yourself with talented and skilled peoples, and you just absorb it.
Mhm.
Be open to new ways of looking at things.
Yep. Tell me
Yeah.
about John Gordon and the program, the positive of power, the
Power positive leadership.
power of positive leadership. I'll say it right here, because I think that's such a program that is getting a lot of traction right now.
Yeah.
And John's all
Yeah.
over social media, but I love this. So I haven't really had a coach from John Gordon besides Chip, but Chip hasn't really talked about that process with me. So if you would share with our viewers and our listeners
Yeah.
what that program is like to go
Well,
through personally.
there's 2 ways of doing it. I would love to be able to do it live right now, but we're not, because one of my carrying trademarks, if you will, is I'm a hugger, and I consider these things jumper cables. So if somebody needs something, I'm ready there to jump them. But there's a virtual and there's a live. Now, typically the virtual is split up into 2 days, because who wants to be on Zoom for 6 or 8 hours? But even the live in the one day, because you're getting to interact with people instead of being on Zoom, is much more engaging. But it doesn't take away from the virtual either. And we cover everything from how do positive leaders drive the culture? Because you've been to places or worked at places where it maybe wasn't toxic, but it was not like, oh well, my job's done, I'm going home. Whereas when you have a culture, you just want to do more. It's an integral part of you, as almost as much as your family. And then it gets into figuring out what your vision is, what your long range goal is, and then taking care of the next 200 feet. What's some of the other thing? Um, what you do with energy vampires? Have you ever been into a meeting and somebody walks into it and they just suck the energy right out of the room? Well, what do we do to transform those people? Because we can use them, and if you can't, then they should be on their way out. And it calls for being accountable and responsible. uh, Building relationships, looking at the way you communicate and you connect with people, um, uh, how you get commitment and caring out of the people. Because there's plenty of places where you kind of feel committed or connected, but when you leave work, you leave it. But when you're committed, you're committed to the to the very essence of that team or that company, and then you're carrying trademarks. Mine being a hug. I even have one that I relate in the training where I talk about. I used to have this admin, and both of us would be pretty busy. I'd be in my office or something, or she'd be at her desk, and we would walk by and we did the name game with each other. And I'd go by saying, Tina, Tina, Bobina, Banana, Nana. And she, without even looking up, she's still typing away, Dennis, Dennis, Bobinas. It's just, we're recognizing each other that you're working hard, but we don't want to interrupt anything. And it just makes it just shows that you care, and that you care about more than, where's my per diem check for that last trip, it's just being able to say thank you in a different way. So recognizing somebody like that. And then the best part that comes out of the training is you have a personal manifesto, your action items, your one word. I don't know if you've gotten into what the one word that John Gordon even has a book out for that, where instead of New Year's resolutions, you come up with a one word for the year.
Mhm.
And last year mine was mentor, but this year it's steadfast. Uh,
It's an
and
awesome word.
you that way, uh, if you break your New Year's resolution, it's done. And most people's are done by the end of January. But with the one word, it's in your forefront all the time. And even if you're making a mistake or not being steadfast or not feeling like mentoring, you could come right back to it, and it's still right there in front of you. That manifesto and that summary is really good. I feel like I'm hogging the conversation because
No, you're good. We've got a comment here from Dennis LaRue. He says, "You send those energy vampires to the influencers in your organization with high patience, high EQ, focused on developing the person from the inside out." Yes.
yeah, he's
It-
spot on. That's a
yes.
that's a really good answer to it. In our discussions, similar things come up with it, and that when I give these things, I'm not bringing anything but facilitating it. Really, the genius is in the room, and we've heard that so many times. All the experiences that people like Dennis bring into a meeting, all the experiences, all the things that he's learned. It's a great perspective. So he's bringing his genius into the room, and you're bringing yours.
Well, we've got a lot of peeps. I tell you, from the leadership circle, there are so many people that are following, Jonathan Howard. I think Chip Baker, this may be him on here saying my peeps. So, but
Boom.
it is, it's a boom and go get it, Chip.
Yeah.
That's the great thing, right? When you get into that same room with like minded thinkers, amazing things happen. Amazing things happen because you never want to be the smartest person in the room, but you want to be able to evolve and grow and change. And so that's what we've been talking about tonight. And so if you have just joined us or you're watching this on the replay, I want you guys to know how much Dennis Mellen is changing the world. He has this new book. You are. Oh my goodness, you are. And I want to put this back on here because if you have the ability to go to his website, he has a book called Takes More Than Heart. So you can go right to takesmorethanheart.com and you can look at that video and listen to his story again, and then get his book and really connect to him, because I think, we all need that little inspiration at whatever stage of life we're in. It doesn't matter if you're in midlife, if you're in your 20s and you've gone through COVID with a transition and transformation, this is going to help you. There are so many points in here of value. And so, again, ageless, timeless, useful tips that we can use about our own leadership in life. And Dennis says real quick here, thanks for serving. he is Dennis is one of my John Maxwell team coaches, and we had a coaching group for a while together. So he is a great guy. It's a good name, Dennis. Dennis to
Yeah,
Dennis.
yeah. Not many of us out there.
Not many of you out there.
It's kind of interesting to see the subtitle of the book is changing the journey's challenges into opportunities, and learning from whatever happened. Never look at it as a defeat or a failure. Just take the lesson and move on. You know.
Ah, and Jonathan Howard says exactly that. It's all about the journey, not about the fall, but how you get up, especially in these crazy times.
Well, thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate that. That's something that we all could learn from there.
Yep. Good people. Man, you guys, thank you for watching tonight, and thank you for following. And listen, go to this website, Takes More Than Heart, and grab a copy of this book and connect to Dennis. If you need training, development, virtually or in person, look him up, because as you can see, he is a guy that takes more than heart. He really cares passionately about what he's doing. And Dennis, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, and thank you for being an everyday leader.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's been really a good discussion. You made me think about some things here, so I learned some stuff tonight.
Oh, well, great. Well, come back anytime. Anything that you would like to share, you're always a friend. You can come back on Everyday Leaders anytime and share your journey with us.
Okay, I thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a great night, Dennis, and stay warm up there.
Oh yeah.